They say children are gifts from heaven, but sometimes hell sends its own gifts. And they come wrapped in the most innocent packages, with golden eyes that never rage and smiles that steal your very soul. This is Whispers in the Dark, Episode 9, Sweet Boy. The Wesleys thought they were answering prayers when the adoption agency called. After years of failed attempts to have children, the social worker's voice sounded like salvation itself. "We have a match," she said, a 7-year-old boy named Elias. "He's been through some difficult circumstances, but he's such a sweet child. Golden eyes, the most angelic face you've ever seen." The file was thin, too thin, really. Just a few pages with the basics. Born 7 years ago, no living relatives, previous placements unsuccessful due to family circumstances. But Mrs. Wesley didn't care about the gaps. She saw the photograph, those enormous golden eyes, that innocent smile, and her heart was decided. The moment Elias stepped out of the social worker's car, he was perfection incarnate. Golden eyes that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Soft brown hair that looked like it had been touched by angels. A shy smile that made you want to protect him from every harm in the world. "Thank you for adopting me," he whispered in that sweet, innocent voice. "I'll be the best little boy ever." Mrs. Wesley's heart melted completely, and she felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She didn't know that in that moment, as her love poured out toward this precious child, something else was flowing back, her very essence, drawn into those golden eyes like water into a sponge. The first weeks were pure bliss. Elias was everything they dreamed of in a child. He said please and thank you without being reminded. He helped Mrs. Wesley in the kitchen, standing on a little stool to stir the soup while chattering about his day. "Mommy, you make the best cookies in the whole world," he'd exclaim, and Mrs. Wesley would beam with pride, never noticing how each compliment seemed to drain a little color from her cheeks. When Mr. Wesley came home from work, Elias would run to the door shouting "Daddy" and leap into his arms. The pure joy on the child's face was intoxicating, and Mr. Wesley would feel his heart swell with love, and with each embrace, grow just a little weaker. "Can we play catch, Daddy? Can you read me a story? Can we build a fort?" Every request was delivered with those sparkling golden eyes and that irresistible smile, and the Wesleys never said no. How could they? He was their perfect little angel. By the 3rd week, Mrs. Wesley was sleeping 12 hours a night, but still waking up exhausted. "It's just the adjustment period," she told herself, as she made Elias his favorite pancakes in the shape of Mickey Mouse ears. "These are perfect," Mommy looked squealed with delight, and that warm feeling flooded through her again. She smiled weakly as he ate, not noticing how her hand trembled as she poured his orange juice. Mr. Wesley started taking longer lunch breaks, claiming he needed naps in his car. His co-workers noticed his pallor, but when they asked if he was feeling all right, he'd just smile and say, "I'm great. My son is amazing. He's the light of my life." And he meant it, even as that light seemed to be burning him up from the inside. The Wesleys began canceling plans. Book club was skipped because Elias wanted help with a puzzle. The neighborhood barbecue was missed because Elias asked for a movie night. Date nights disappeared entirely. Why would they want to leave their precious boy? "Can I have ice cream for breakfast, Mommy?" Elias would ask with those golden eyes wide and hopeful. "Of course, sweetheart," Mrs. Wesley would reply automatically, her voice growing flatter each day. Can we go to the toy store, Daddy? I saw the most wonderful train set. Anything for you, buddy, Mr. Wesley would whisper, even though his paycheck was already stretched thin from buying Elias everything his little heart desired. Each wish granted, each smile rewarded, each moment of joy they gave him seemed to cost them something vital. But they couldn't stop. They wouldn't stop. He was their beautiful boy, and he deserved everything. The neighbors began to worry. Linda from next door knocked on the door one Tuesday afternoon, carrying a casserole. "I haven't seen you two at the mailbox in days," she said with concern. "Is everything all right?" Mrs. Wesley answered the door, and Linda barely recognized her. The vibrant woman she'd known for years now looked gaunt, hollow-eyed, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. "Everything's wonderful," Mrs. Wesley said in a monotone voice. "Elias is such a good boy." From the living room came the sound of cartoons and sweet childish laughter. Linda peered past Mrs. Wesley and saw Elias on the couch, surrounded by expensive toys and empty ice cream containers. The child looked radiant, practically glowing with health, while his adoptive mother looked like she was wasting away. "Mommy, can I have more cookies?" Elias called out, and Mrs. Wesley immediately shuffled toward the kitchen without excusing herself, leaving Linda standing in the doorway. More neighbors came by over the following weeks. Each time they found the same disturbing scene, the Wesleys growing thinner and more lifeless, while Elias grew more vibrant and demanding. "Can I stay home from school today, Daddy? My tummy hurts," Elias would say with a pouty lip, and Mr. Wesley would call in sick to work to stay home with him. Then another day, and another. Soon, neither parent was leaving the house at all. They existed only to serve Elias's needs, making his meals, buying his toys, reading him stories, playing his games. They moved through their days like sleepwalkers, operating on nothing but muscle memory and the compulsive need to make their golden-eyed boy happy. By month 4, the Wesleys were barely recognizable as human beings. Their skin was paper-thin and gray. Their eyes had sunk deep into their skulls. They spoke only when spoken to, and then only in whispers. But Elias, he was more beautiful than ever. His golden eyes blazed with stolen life force. His cheeks were rosy with someone else's vitality. He skipped through the house like a prince in his castle, demanding treats and attention from his hollow-eyed servants. "Mommy, I want spaghetti for lunch, the kind with the little meatballs." His voice was still sweet, still innocent, but there was something else lurking underneath now, a hunger that was never quite satisfied. Mrs. Wesley nodded and shuffled to the kitchen, her movements jerky and mechanical. She barely had the strength to lift the pot, but she cooked anyway. She always cooked. She always gave him what he wanted, even as it killed her. The end came on a gray winter morning. Mr. Wesley collapsed in the hallway while carrying Elias's breakfast upstairs. His body simply gave out. There wasn't enough essence left to keep his heart beating. Mrs. Wesley found him there an hour later, but she felt nothing. No grief, no panic, no emotion at all. There was nothing left inside her to feel with. She simply stepped over his body and continued to Elias's room with the now cold breakfast. "Your daddy's sleeping in the hallway," she said, in a voice like rustling leaves. Elias looked up from his coloring book and smiled. "That's okay, Mommy. You're all I need anyway." By noon, Mrs. Wesley had collapsed too. She sat in the living room chair where she'd fallen, staring at nothing, her chest barely rising and falling. Elias studied his handiwork with satisfaction. 2 more empty shells, drained completely dry. He'd gotten every drop of love, every ounce of care, every spark of life they'd had to give. That evening, as the first flames began to lick at the curtains, Elias found a small suitcase with the same care he'd shown dozens of times before. The fire would consume the evidence, as it always did. The investigators would blame faulty wiring, as they always did. He paused at the front door, looking back at the house that had been his home for 6 beautiful months. Somewhere in the smoke and flames were the empty husks that had once been the Wesleys. People who had loved him so completely that they'd given him everything, including their lives. "Thank you," he whispered to the burning house. "You were delicious." 1 year later, in a town 3 states away, the Hendersons were sitting in an adoption agency, holding hands and trying not to cry. "We've been trying for so long," Mrs. Henderson was saying. "We just want to give a child all the love we have." The social worker smiled sympathetically and slid a photograph across the desk. "I think we have just the boy for you. His name is Elias. 7 years old, the sweetest child you've ever seen. Golden eyes like an angel." The Hendersons gasped at the photo. He was perfect, absolutely perfect. Previous placements didn't work out due to family circumstances, the social worker continued, but I have a feeling he's exactly what you're looking for. The next day, a black sedan pulled up to the Hendersons' house. The social worker got out first, then opened the back door. Out stepped a 7-year-old boy with golden eyes that seemed to capture sunlight. He looked exactly as he had in the photograph. Innocent, angelic, not a day older than 7. He walked up to the Hendersons with that shy, sweet smile they'd fallen in love with from his picture. His small hand reached out trustingly toward theirs. "Thank you for adopting me," he said in that precious voice that made their hearts melt instantly. "I'll be the best little boy ever." And as Mrs. Henderson felt that warm rush of love fill her chest, somewhere deep in those golden eyes, something ancient and hungry smiled back.